In this video, I'm continuing with the pen and wash theme. This time a scene that's perhaps a little more complex, but I'm going to simplify it to an extent where any beginner trying this out for the first time will not have any difficulty. Very basic washes just to get some color and a little bit of form and interest into the scene. Sit back and enjoy watching this little pen and wash sketch come to life. Okay, now this is a scene I have painted before some years ago with oils. And this time, as I said, just pen and wash. Now there's three things that I want to really focus on and show you in this quick demo. And that's number one, the first wash is the transparent color. Let that dry. Second wash is the values, the shadow shapes, the darks that give the whole painting form and a bit more strength. And then finally, I'll finish off with a little more color here or there, just to get that deeper, richer colors where I want them. All you've got to do is just have a little patience, let the first wash dry, apply the values on top of that, and you'll get immediately a very pleasing result. But remember, this is about kicking back, relaxing, having fun, just exploring a subject with a very, very basic pen and wash approach. Right, let's get into the painting. It's a very attractive scene with a beautiful light and dark contrast, and that's what I'm going to focus on using my Fabriano journal. The paper is 200 gram paper and it's hot press, so it's quite smooth and beautiful for journaling, writing notes and doing sketches like this. Remember, if you want a more textured watercolor style paper, get a 300 gram cold press paper. Okay, I'm using the Pigma Micron pen to do a very basic sketch, but it's a fun sketch, something you can do when you're pressed for time as well, but also just when you are sketching in the evening perhaps. And it's getting a structure, but it's all about drawing, just having fun drawing in a very simple way. I am doing the outlines of shapes, looking for the shapes in the scene. Tree shapes or ovals, or they could be round. Here I'm applying the shadows using a very traditional cross-hatch approach. And that's to remind me it's a shadow, but it's also going to look more like a shadow with the shadow color over it. The black pen adding that texture and added depth to the shadow. So all these lines are clearly visible in your painting, but that's the beauty of this pen and wash approach. Of course, the pen is essential. The same approach perhaps you might enjoy urban sketching if you're in the city, or if you're in a small town or village like this, you can sketch beautiful scenes like you see in front of you here. I'm going to add a few suggestions of branches and tree trunks to give a bit of structure to the mass shape on the right hand side, but overall it's going to be a strong shadow, which is going to hopefully give us a nice frame and lead in to the scene itself. The mountain, keep that quite simple. Obviously it's way in the background. Quite a lot of shadow colors for the tree up on the right, but I'm going to try to make it richer in color, not just a dark. Anyway, we'll see how it goes, of course. But that's pretty much it for the sketch. Very typical, I would say, of most sketches like this for a wash of color. Now, the first stage, as I said, is dropping in transparent color. And as you can see, I'm using yellow ochre and yellow here in the strong lights just to start things off. Using the cat's tongue brush, which holds a nice bit of water, I can quickly cover the surface with some warm transparent color and a little bit of burnt sienna in the foreground to start off the path in shadow. Now, of course, you may say, well, that's burnt sienna, looks quite warm and sunny to me, but of course the shadows will come later on in the second wash. A cooler green for the tree, still quite light. So you're getting the picture in more ways than one. I'm sure I'm repeating myself a bit, but it's important to get these transparent colors in the first go. A more resolved watercolor painting may have more of these washes, but basically you'll start off like this with a thin wash right in the very beginning, and then you got to let that dry. Put the brush down, and once that first wash is dry, you can see how the color settles, and it's quite insipid actually. You've got to now bring the strength into the scene, and I'm mixing these cool darks. A bit of blue, a bit of purple, a touch of yellow, and it's getting this sort of kind of desaturated green for the shadow. Also, ultramarine will be an important color for your shadows. Shadows are cool, darker, but they're not black. Especially when you're doing these type of sketches, you want a suggestion of interesting color in those shadows as well. I brought a touch of burnt sienna in there and just mixing it up. Now, a strong value structure is the basis of any good landscape painting, no matter what medium you use. So don't forget about strong values in your watercolors and your sketches like this. Everything really hinges on those important colors. Now in the back here, I am adding darker greens and yellows, but it's not shadows back there, of course, it's in direct sunlight. There'll be a few shadows across the road as I add some darks as well. Right, something in the mountain there, just to define that warmth a little more. Although I could soften those edges a bit, it's not that important. Okay, now the foreground shadows have got to be strengthened as well. Bring in the darker values. And what's the color I'm using? It's kind of a muddy bluish color, isn't it? And that's something you can get away with a bit more with watercolor than perhaps with oils. But for the most part, you could say it's ultramarine and it's transparent, so the burnt sienna underneath just gets a bluish glaze and it looks like a shadow. I might develop those a little more, but let's just get some shadows down the road. And now add a few richer colors. Something along the sidewalk, leaving the garden wall quite light just with its first wash. Adding a few subtle shadows with the trees down the road. Now, because this is a hot press paper, you're not getting that much texture in your lights, but I've still retained the lights down the road there with that very soft yellow wash, as you can see. Adding a few notes of accent colors with the burnt sienna. And now I'm going to add a little figure. With hindsight, I should have added this figure in the drawing stage, but I've made a decision now to add that in, and I haven't let the paper dry quite as sufficiently as I should have, but the figure still works, and it's okay now. Using the rigger brush, bringing in a little bit of blue texture in the shadows and suggestions of tree trunks perhaps, and some of these utility poles, just getting a little more emphasis. But overall, I think the sketch already has the sense of an urban sketch, a quick, fun little study like this, and I think it's got energy and a life that I find so appealing with sketches like this. I could do these all day actually, and I wouldn't get tired of them. Maybe by the end of it I'd want to get back to oils again, but have fun with it. Just do them and work as quickly as you can, and you end up with a fun little study like this. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and before I go on, I just want to remind you about the Create Art magazine. If you haven't heard about it yet, it's currently still a free artist magazine which I'm editing, and you can get a free copy in the description. Just subscribe, get your first free copy, and the next one coming on the 1st of November, so you don't want to miss that either. We'd appreciate your support, and I know you're going to love the magazine. Well, enjoy your pen and wash painting, and if you want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comments. And of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one. And there's more. You can check out the free painting course up here. Get to explore my painting school and see what you like. Well, until next time, happy painting and cheers for now.